everybody, today we're going to be going into the 8th installment of the Kill 'Em All series. Today, it's Seek and Destroy on rhythm guitar. Now this installment poses a very important question. Exactly what tools are we going to be using for seeking and destroying? Could it be a wide area augmentation system assisted by required navigation performance technology developed in the 1990s to guide an aircraft, whether military or commercial, into a static target with ease? Or are we going to stick to what we know? I think the choice is clear. The main riff to Seek and Destroy is based around an A pedal point. Now this riff is probably what most people associate with the song when they think of the title. And here's how it goes. So let's talk about how to play that riff technically speaking. So we start off with 2 palm mutes on the A string like this, nice and tight, and then we move on to a hammer-on and pull-off on the 7th and 8th fret of the G, signifying a bluesy type of thing. We're going from the D to the E flat, which is the 4th and the flat 5th. And then we move down to the A string, same 2 frets, same deal. Hammer and pull. This is immediately followed by a sequence of 7 down-picked notes, okay? So we go like this. Now notice how not every single one of those notes is muted. The first 2 are muted like this. Then when you hit the D string, that's not muted. When you hit the 7th again, that is muted. Come up to the 5th on the G, not muted. And the last note is not muted. So as long as you know that, you'll be in pretty good shape. So mute, 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 not, not. Okay, so something a little interesting there. Now, modally speaking here, let's talk about music theory a little bit. Here, that first part reminds me of the blues, right? You're going from the 4th to the flat 5th, which is very bluesy. The next part is A to B flat, which signifies a Phrygian mode. Now the Phrygian mode is exemplified by the flat 2, okay? So when you're in the key of A and you have a B flat, that's your flat 2. And the next part seems to just do a regular old flat 6 to 5 resolution, which is pretty common. So before we leave off this section, let's talk about the transition into the next part. So all it's doing is playing an E minor blues, so it's actually modulating to an E minor blues lick. And we're going like this. Now that's definitively E minor blues. We're hitting the 9th fret on the G, which is the root, down to the 7th fret, which is the flat 7, then down to the 9th fret, back up to the 7, then chromatically 9, 8, 7 down to 5. All right. The next section, or the setup, is characterized by 3 separate techniques. A palm mute, an inverted power chord movement, and then a single note movement. So once you put all those 3 parts together, we get this. So we're starting off with 4 palm muted low E strings. Once again, nice and tight, all downstrokes. And then we're heading into this 5th fret of the A, 5th fret of the D, 4th interval, which is, it's an incomplete power chord, right? Well, actually it's a complete power chord, but we're inverting it. Usually I play a power chord down here, but instead we're inverting it. We're taking the bottom note and putting it up top. So that's what we're doing. And then we're just going between the 5th and the 7th fret using your pointer and your ring. Not muted, all downstrokes. Then we continue on with the open, four more times. And then we hit, which is just going down part of the blues scale. Okay, so we're going 7, 5, 7, 6, using your ring, pointer, and your middle to get that done. Now here's what we're doing. We're going through the root, flat 7, the 5th, and then the flat 5th, which is the blue note which defines the blues. Always remember that. Now that section sets up the verse riff, which is actually a less complicated version of what we just looked at. So really, here's the verse. So not too much to say about that. You're riding on the low E palm mute. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. Alright, now on the last part, you're palm muting the first 2 notes, and then not palm muting the last 2 notes. So if you could keep that in mind, it's going to make your playing sound a lot better, a lot cleaner, right? And more professional in general. So after we play that verse riff a countless amount of times,
say what?
We're going to go into the pre-chorus riff. Now the pre-chorus riff kind of sounds more like a Judas Priest song rather than a Metallica song, but you know, the same thing goes true with the rest of this album actually. There's a lot of influences on this album from the late 70s that you're hearing come through here, and kind of helped Metallica evolve, I would say. Now here's how that pre-chorus goes. Right, you see what I mean? It kind of sounds like you got another thing coming or something like that. Right? Or something like Van Halen. So let's check out what's going on here. So we actually start with that perfect 4th type of deal on the 5th fret of the D and the G, and we just hit it hard like this. And then we go 4 palm mutes on the A string, and then we take it back to that perfect 4th idea, just going 5 to 7 to 5 with our pointer and ring. Then we hit the 5th again. So you do that a total of 3 times before we hit the little fill section. We'll call this a little break, right? Alright, so this is something you would think of as an A blues? Question mark? I don't know. It's just in that position, but it's pretty simple. So you just hit the 7th and 5th fret on the G, then 7, 6, 5 on the D, going chromatically, and 7, 6, 5 on the A. Then we come back into the other part like this. And coming out of that, we do that transition point from the intro. Okay, that E minor blues modulation from earlier. Except this time, we play it twice, and then we move on to the chorus. The chorus of Seek and Destroy follows a simple yet very interesting chord structure. So let's look at how to play it first, and then we'll talk theoretically what's happening next. Okay, so all that's happening here are power chords from the 10th fret of the A string, right? 10 and 12. just held out and then moving chromatically down to the 7th fret of the E, which is then followed by 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 full measures of open E palm mutes. So looking at that, we're playing a G, then an F sharp, then an F, and then an E. Alright, so at first glance this seems very simple, because it is. All they're doing is playing chromatically based power chords descending. So I know we're talking about guitar parts here, but let's focus a little bit on what the vocal melody is doing, because that kind of drives the point home of what I mean by how interesting this actually is, right? So when we hit the G power chord, right, we're playing the root and the 5th. Now the vocal melody goes from a D to an E, which in relation to G, D would be the 5th, and E would be the 6th. So this is actually creating a 6 chord, E or a G 6 chord, right? When we hit the F sharp, that's implied to continue. That's hitting the flat 7 on top of the F sharp. When it hits the F natural, it becomes a major 7. So you can think of this as G6, F sharp 7, F major 7 to E. So let's move into the bridge section, which greets us with a nice tempo change. So the setup to the solo section is its own part entirely. Now what we're doing is we're starting on the 5th fret of the D string, hitting it once, and then hitting 2 palm muted A's. Then the 7th fret of the D, 2 palm muted A's again, back to the 7th fret again. So we're going. That's the first part. And if you kind of feel out the accent, dun, 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 okay, so you're hitting first on beat 1, right? And then because of the way you're palm muting in between, you're hitting on the and of 2. And then on beat 4, so you're going 1 and 4, and 4, 1 and 4. That's the feel of the whole section. So let's continue that feel moving into the next part. Now, we always go back to the D string 7th fret in between for this part. So you're starting off with just the D string, 5th fret, and then you're going D string and G string 5th fret to do that A minor 7th thing, and then we're going to this, the 4th fret of the D and the G, which is F sharp and B. So if you look at that as a chord, that's kind of like a, you can say it as like a B over an A, or an A6-9. So we're going like this. Single note, minor 7, 6-9, and then this little rhythm here. Now that little riff in between, the fill, is 3-2 open, or CBA, on the A string. All of those notes are palm muted. And then it goes to 3-2-0 on the D. However, this part is not palm muted. So all in all, palm, no. Palm, no. Alright, so it's kind of tough to feel this out quickly, but if you slow it down and you think of the fact that we're hitting on beat 1 and 4, 1 and 4, and 4, mute, no, mute. If you can think about those elements as you're playing quickly, then, just like I was saying before, it's going to make you sound more pro, okay? So let's see if I can do that fast. So your brain should be activating like this. 1 and 4, 1 and 4, 1 and 4, mute, no, mute, 1 and 4, and So that's how your brain has to be firing off when you're playing this. Here we're entering the first part of the solo section, truly. And all it is like the chorus setup, right? The seek and destroy section. But we're playing it much faster. And then, so it's like a double time chorus or much increased tempo. Now what you do, play it 4 times, then you skip that last little section there of E palm mutes. And then you play that A-based riff on the E instead. Okay? So we're dealing with the same exact stuff. 1 and all the same relative to the E instead of the A. All the same articulation, all of the same chords and single notes, everything is the same. So if you take what I told you from before and you apply it to here, you're not going to have any kind of problem at all. Now there is one more part, however. At the very end it repeats that last part. This part. And then it hits an A chord, Lars hits the snare, and we're back into the main riff. So after playing the verse, pre-chorus, and chorus riffs once more, and going through the form of the song, we hit the last 2 riffs. These are kind of like the outro riffs. In most cases, you'd only have one outro riff, but in this case, we have 2 of them. So, in this case, it actually works. Ordinarily, you wouldn't do that. Your audience might get a little bit bored after the first one, if you know what I'm saying. But it works for Metallica. And I guess because the song is so good, that they need it. The song is so good that they just wanted to keep on going. I don't blame them. So let's take a look at the first outro riff. It goes like this. So it kind of plays off that chord idea during the chorus. Now, we're just changing it up a little bit. So instead, we're picking up on the and of the beat and landing on the hard downbeat on the next chord, right? So we're picking up on the and of the 4. Now let's just take a look at the chords real quick. All power chords, very simple. 10th fret of the A, which is a G, going to F sharp at the 9th fret, then F sharp to F, or 9 to 8, then F resolving to E, that's that Neapolitan flat 2 resolving down to the E, right? The second time, it goes G to F sharp, or 10 to 9, then 9 to 5, F sharp to D, D, E, 5 to 7. And that whole thing goes 2 times all the way through. One with the drums going like this, boom, boom, tap, boom, boom, kind of like a halftime thing. And then 2 times with a little pickup, right? The second outro riff is kind of its own thing as well. It's sort of like an island.
Amazing. It's like an island.
This riff goes a total of 8 times, the first 4 of which have that halftime Lars drum groove, right? And the second half having that double time groove. So 4 times half, 4 times double. All we're doing is just a little palm mutey kind of thing. Where we have 2 E palm mutes in between each of the chords. And the chords go as such. Open E with your pointer at the 2nd fret of the A and the D, to the G power chord at the 3rd fret of the E, to the F sharp, to G, A, G. So looking at the numbers in terms of theoretically what we're playing, the 1 chord, the 3 chord, the 2, 3, 4, 3. Okay? And we do this a total of 8 times, carrying through both drum grooves. And then at the very end, now I'm going to play just the ending one, the ending time, so like 8th time we're going through this. You're going to add 2 extra palm mutes in there, and that changes the time actually. So if we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, you're adding an extra beat at the end of that. You can think of it as a measure of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then into this 3 times. So that's a very creative way to mix and match the parts at the end there.